Welcome to the Notion of Life series, in which we are building the ultimate Notion system that helps us get more result with less effort. In the last video, we created the action tracker, which is the central place in which we capture, clarify, and process all of our actions. In today's video, we are going to be creating the daily review. Now, the daily review is a two-part process that helps us to start and end our day with clarity and intention. We have the startup routine that we do at the beginning of our workday, in which we have some reflections, some statistic tracking, some habit tracking, our daily actions, and more. And then we have our shutdown routine, in which we empty our inboxes, check in with the actions that we did today, track our habits, and have some closing reflection questions. Now, there's quite a lot happening in the daily review, but you don't have to do everything. You can take what is useful to you and discard the rest. But still, I would encourage you to invest some time into doing a daily review. Because ask yourself this question: when is the last time that you spent time doing something that wasn't serving you? And could this have been prevented by taking a few minutes to reflect beforehand? Because that is what the daily review can do for us. It can help us make decisions that in the moment we might not realize, but that over the long term can save us many hours of work. Now, as usual, I like to start with a little story, but if you're just here for the Notion stuff, then feel free to use the timestamps and skip ahead. Once upon a time, there was a man looking to make some money, and he found himself a job as a woodcutter. And the first week, he was delivering great work, and the foreman complimented him and said, "You, my friend, are chopping so much wood. If you keep going at this pace, you might even get a raise." So the man got motivated and he started chopping harder, started chopping more, and as he was continuing to work, his output started to stagnate. And the man didn't know what was going on. So he started chopping harder and harder. But as the days were progressing, he started chopping less and less wood. And at one point, the foreman came up to him and said, "If you don't start chopping more wood by tomorrow, you are going to be fired." So the man goes all out and he chops as hard as he can and he makes long hours. And the next day, he still didn't have enough wood. So he goes up to the foreman and he pleads. He says, "Please give me one more chance. I really need this job and I know I can do it. You've seen I can do it, but I just don't know what's happening." So the foreman is thinking and he asks him, "When did you last sharpen your axe?" And the man says, "Sharpen my axe? I've never sharpened my axe." There is the problem. You spend so much time chopping that wood, but zero time sharpening the axe. And as the axe gets duller, you can put in so much energy, so much effort, but you will never be as efficient. And this also applies to our life. So often we are too busy grinding that we forget to sharpen our tools. We forget to sharpen our mind, our body, our systems. We are focused on the work, but we're not focused on doing the work efficiently. And that is why we have the daily review. The daily review helps us sharpen the metaphorical axe. It makes sure that what we are doing are the right things and that we can do them efficiently. Some practical information before we get started. As always, you can use the timestamps down below to skip ahead to the part of the video that you might find interesting. You can also increase the playback speed if you think I am not already talking fast enough. And all the links, assets, and products are mentioned in the description down below. So go check them out if you want to use them. Now, let's get into it. Let's start with a brief overview. The main goal of the daily review is to help us structure our day-to-day lives using our time and energy more wisely. It's an investment of a few minutes that has a disproportionate result. Like Abraham Lincoln once said, "If I have 6 hours to chop a tree, I will spend the first 4 sharpening my axe." So which axes are we sharpening? We start the daily review with some startup reflections, which are some questions, some prompts that help us start the day with intent and clarity. Then the second thing is statistic tracking. And this is for all the geeks that want to track their weight or their sleep score or any hard quantifiable numbers. Then the third part is habit tracking. The fourth part is checking in with the action items that we have planned for today. And the fifth part is affirmations, which are things we want to remind ourselves that are important to us. Then at the end of the day, we have our shutdown routine. The first part of the shutdown routine is emptying our inboxes, our action inboxes, personal knowledge and external knowledge inbox. Then the second part is doing an action review, checking in with the actions that we did and did not do today, and also planning the actions that we have for tomorrow. Then the third part is habit tracking, right? In the morning we did habit tracking, but at the end of the day we do all of the habits, make sure that we tracked everything for the day. Then once again, for the geeks, there's also some statistic tracking. We have some reflection questions. And once again, if you want to use them, there is some affirmations. Now, there is a lot inside of the daily review, but you do not have to use everything. This is meant as a perfect blueprint that has everything that you might need, but you can delete, modify, add anything that you desire. One last heads up. In this template, you're going to see many databases and views that we haven't covered yet, but they will be covered later on in this series. So don't feel overwhelmed. Everything will make sense in the end. Okay, so let's get into the daily review. And the first thing that we do, of course, we go into our Notion of Life system and we open up the database collection zone. Now, as mentioned in the previous video, we are not going to build this database from scratch. I'm just going to briefly show you what it looks like, and then I'm going to show you how the daily review works. So over here under the review phase, we have the daily review, and there's three different views that we have. We have the today's review view, we have all reviews, and we have the master view. So let's just briefly look at this master view in which we have all the properties. So the first property is the day, in which we write down what day the property belongs to. I usually just put the abbreviation of the date. I would actually like this property to not exist, but in Notion it is impossible to delete the name property. So that's why I just put the abbreviation over there. Then next we have the date on which we do the actual review. Then over here we have a few statistics that we might track, and I'll show you later on how we use this. Over here we have habits that we might potentially track. We're doing this using checkboxes. Over here we have a relationship to the weekly review. So once again, we married these two different databases together so that we can say this particular daily review belongs to this particular weekly review. And then over here we have this floating statistic tree. I don't know why I have that there, but we're just gonna leave that for now. Now over here we have the view in which we only see the daily review that is due for today. And we do that, of course, by assigning a filter that says date is today. Now the cool thing that Notion does is when a filter is applied to a database, if we make an entry, that entry automatically gets the properties as are set in the filter. So if I go press new entry over here, you can see that this date has automatically been changed to today because over here we had that filter applied. And now also over here you can see this daily review because it has that date for today. But tomorrow, this view once again is going to be empty because this one is set to the 17th. Tomorrow it's going to be the 18th, so it will be empty again. But for the time being, for today, this particular entry will be right over here. Now, the layout that we have applied here is a gallery layout. You can see that one over here, gallery. We have the card preview set to none. If we had set this to cover, for example, you would get this little view over here. If we set to content, you would see the page contents right over here. If I would say, hey, over here, you can see the page content over here, but we have that one set to none. The card size to small, right? We could also make that larger, but we want to have it small because basically we just want to have a button with which we can easily create our daily review. So that's none, that is small. And then the last thing is that we want to open the pages in full page. So Notion allows us to choose in what size we open our pages. We can have the side peak, the center peak, but we want to have the full page. So when we click on this entry, it opens as a full page, and that's what we want right over here. So I'm just going to delete this one right now, And then we are going to go into our execution zone because that's where we usually access our daily review. And right over here, you can see this database view, right? Daily review, denoted with the little sun emoji over here. And if we were to go over here and to this new button, you can see that we have a daily review template. And a template is a pre-designed page that we can generate with a single click of a button. And we actually set this template to default. And what that means is that whenever we create a new page over here, this template is automatically generated. So we have this simple little button with new, and once we press that, a new page is generated, is opened in this full view. We get this date set to today because the filter was set for today, and we get this template. We get this beautiful banner that shows it's the daily review, and then over here we get a full template with all the information that we need for our daily review. Okay, so let's explore this template because this is where the magic happens. Now, once again, things might get a little overwhelming. Don't be worried, we are going to cover all of these things in the system in depth. But for now, I'm just going to show you how this daily review works. Now, actually, I have all of these properties hidden. So we're just gonna hide these properties because we don't need to see them right now. We only need to see everything that happens on the page. Of course, we could open it right here, but we are not going to do that. Now, as human beings, we have around 30,000 days in our lives. And at the end of the day, that is all our lives are, just a series of days strung together. So what we want to do is we want to optimize our daily lives. And that is what we have this daily review for. We want to live life with more appreciation, more gratitude, more focus. And that is exactly what this template helps us do. It helps us optimize and fully engage with our day-to-day life. Now, the first thing that we do is the startup routine. Now, this is something that you see everywhere throughout a Notion of Life. Almost everything that we do is a database view, right? That ties back to that database first principle. Everything that we do is stored in databases. So over here you can see these database views which are stacked from left to right. And we always do it from left to right whenever there's a process going on, something we want to do step by step. And that usually happens in the different reviews. So the first thing that we do is our startup questions. And these are just some prompts to check in with ourselves on how we want to approach the day and how we are feeling today. And you can change these questions to fit your specific needs. We'll cover that in the reflection questions video, but for now we can just fill this in. We can go over here, we say new entry, what energy state am I feeling today? I am feeling hyped. And we could open up this page if we want, and then over here there's some writing space in which we could elaborate. And just like that, we make a reflection entry into our reflections database. Now, we're not going to cover this too deeply. This is quite complicated. Just know that you can just enter your daily reflections right in here. They're automatically assigned to the right date. Every day, this view automatically resets. So you don't have to know how this works in detail. You can just simply use it, which is very, very nice. Now, suppose you would want to know how it works, and it does get a little complicated. If you buy the Notion of Life system, you will have this little toggle with tutorial videos. And this shows up above any set of database views all throughout the system. So you can simply click on here, and if I want to know how this startup questions view work, I can simply click on it. It will take me to the Notion of Life environment. And then over here, there's a brief video in which that specific view is explained more in depth, both how the view works and also how it is made. But that is just if you purchase a Notion of Life. If you want to copy your own system based on this, then this is not going to be relevant. So then we have a few more questions over here. And the goal of this startup reflection is really that we start our day with intent, that we start our day with clarity, that we are more productive and more effective, right? Checking in at the beginning of the day with ourselves is super powerful because maybe you're not feeling super high on energy. Then maybe you should change one of your action items because actually today is not the day to record a video because your energy level is not there. So it can be really valuable to just check in with yourself at the beginning of the day. Then the next few that we have over here are our startup statistics. And these are any of the statistics that we might want to track. So this is especially interesting for any geeks. Maybe you want to track your weight, maybe you want to track your sleep score or your nutritional score. And by tracking this consistently over time, we can start creating graphs and trends, and we can really see patterns in our behavior. Now, personally, I don't like to track statistics because I get a little obsessive, and there's some interesting research also that shows that tracking numbers can actually be quite unhealthy. It can be hard on your mental health, but if you want to track the statistic, you can do so over here. Now, what we've done is that over here, you see the daily review that we are doing today. So this daily review over here is the same daily review as that we are inside right now. So this is nice meta. We have the daily review that we are doing inside of the review. And the reason we have that is because we want to approach things step by step. So if I were to call this one September 17th, over here you can see it automatically changes. And the way we've done that is by having a filter that says daily review is today. So it's only showing us the daily review that is happening today. Then over here we could add some statistics. And as you can see over here, that would also pop up in this same database entry. Now, the reason it's only showing this one is because this one is set to only hide property when it's empty. The other statistic, it's set to always hide the property. That's just a little nitty-gritty detail. One more nice thing, you can see this one over here has a pie chart which measures. This one is just a raw number. The way you do that is by clicking on a number property. This is a number property. Say edit the property, and then over here it allows us to create a ring, a bar, or just a raw number. And if we create the ring, it asks us how much do you want to divide it by. 100 divided by 20, we get 20% ring. You could also have that be 200, 500, whatever you want. And you could change the color just like that. We have a nice little ring, right? So I'm just showing you a bunch of things here. And I think it's good to note that the notion of life is like the ideal blueprint. Everything that you might need is in there, but you don't need everything. Actually, you probably don't need a lot of the things in here, but you can pick and choose. You can use this as inspiration. You can copy parts that are relevant to you and then delete things that aren't relevant to you. Let's say, for example, I don't want to have this today's action view in there. I can simply go here and say, delete this view. I don't want to see my daily actions during my daily review. It's just not relevant or interesting to me right now. You can simply delete this one over here. And then if in the future you change your mind and you actually want that view back, you can simply go in there, find the database that you want to have the view from, right? We want to have that action tracker. And then we're going to say, actually, I do want to have that daily actions over here. And just like that, we can easily recover different views because we created them in the original database. Okay, the next one is habits. Now, habits are actions that we do on a consistent basis, right? So we have our action items, which are random and unique actions, but then we have habits, which are actions that we do on a consistent basis. In a later video, we are going to explore the habit tracker, but for now, we are just going to have a look at how we track our habits day to day. Now, healthy habits form the backbone of a good life. So that is why it's really important that we track them, because by tracking them, we integrate them. And once they're integrated, they are helping us become a little bit better every single day. So the startup habits are things that we want to do in the morning. Now, you don't necessarily have to track this because here in the bottom, we also have our shutdown habits, which are all the habits for the entire day. So you could also just track them in the evening. But if there's things you want to do every single morning, like for example, have a glass of water or do your daily review, you can simply do that over here. And then if you finish the habit, you can just check the box like that. That's all you need to do. Check it if you did the habit. The way we created this view is by having a layout, which is called the gallery. We once again have the card preview set to none. but we do have two properties showing. Over here, we can show the properties that we want to see over here. And let's say, for example, this habit would also be part of our morning routine. We can simply show it like that, right? So it's very easy for us to add and remove these different habits. Now, the filter is set to only show us the daily review of today, and anything we change in here also changes over there. Cool, so those are the startup habits. Then we are moving into today's actions. And this is just a list of all the actions that we have planned for today. And this serves a few purposes. The first one is that we created this list yesterday, but maybe based on our energy levels or based on something that came up, we want to slightly tweak this. Now, this doesn't happen very often, but sometimes we might want to do that. Then the second thing is that by looking at this list, it provides us with clarity. It reminds us of what we were planning to do for today. And then based on that, we can actually go and do it. The way we created this view is by having a filter that says action date is today, done unchecked, and status is not parent, which is the exact same view that we created in last video. But now instead of the table layout, we have a list layout, which makes it just a slightly bit cleaner. The last thing we do during our startup routine is our affirmations. Now, this is based on our core insights, and this is something we'll cover at the end of this video series, but this is really a reminder of the person that we want to be. So over here, I have this affirmation that in 1 year, I will have sold 10,000 copies of A Notion of Life. And every morning I could just check in with this affirmation. I could just read it. I could read it out loud. I could open it up. I could chant it a few times, whatever works for you. But you could just sort of remind yourself of why you are doing all of this, to give you that motivation, give you that energy to keep working on what you're working on, right? Because we are aligning who we are with what we do. Right? That is the essence of the Notion of Life system. So we put our why and we turn it into our how and what. If this video is valuable to you and you want to support me, then please like and subscribe down below. It really does help. So that is the startup routine. The shutdown routine is a little more elaborate. Now, some of it is a duplicate from the startup routine, but there's also some unique stuff in here. So the first thing that we want to do is empty our inboxes. This is a very important and valuable concept. As we are using a Notion of Life, as we are building any productivity system for ourselves, we want to work with a quick capture and inbox system. What this means is that as the day is progressing, we want to be capturing different types of information. And this information can be an action item, this information can be a personal knowledge piece, or this information can be an external knowledge piece. We've discussed this in a previous video, and we'll go more in depth on these two databases in a future video. For now, let's stick with the action inbox. Let's say I'm going out and about on my day, and at some point in the day, I get a text from my roommate who says, hey, a friend is coming over this weekend to pick up a package, but I'm not home. Could you make sure you are home? And I'm like, yeah, of course I can do that, but I am 110% going to forget this because that is how my mind works. So what I do is I capture this piece of information. And on my laptop, I have a shortcut with which I can instantly capture that and say, be home this weekend. I'm just going to add this task and boom, just like that, it has been captured into my action inbox. Now, in a future video, I will show you how to set up this quick capturing like I just did. For now, I just want you to know that it is possible to easily and quickly capture information into Notion. And in the system, in all these different zones, we have quick capture buttons over here, right? So I could say, be home this weekend for package. But it's not as smooth as the one we did just now because we have to go into a zone, we have to open Notion. So there is quicker ways to do this, but for now you can see we have the quick capture in here. Now there's going to be a separate video on quick capture, so I'm not going to go into that too much in depth. Let's go back to this review. And now you can see in our inbox, this task just showed up. And that is the purpose of an inbox. It collects everything that we are capturing throughout the day, right? During the day, we don't want to be thinking about our planning and organizing and assigning things and getting lost in all the mundane of that stuff. No, during the day, we want to do the work that we want to do and just quickly capture everything into our inbox. And then at the end of the day, we can look at our inbox and start giving everything the proper context. We can start processing it, right? So over here, we can change the name. Maybe this add a new action item isn't a very clear action item. So I'm going to change that into this is a very clear action item. And I might want to assign everything a priority, like, hey, that's a third priority, that's a fourth priority, and I might want to assign it an action date, be home this weekend, right? So the weekend is going to be Friday. I'm going to say, okay, I want to be home on Friday. And yeah, I can just assign all these different properties. And then the last thing that we do is we assign this action to a project. And the moment we assign it to a project, it disappears from this view. So for example, this edit action tracker video might be related to the Notion of Life sales and marketing project. So I just relate that action to the project, and just like that, it is gone. Now, some tasks are not related to a project in the classical sense, like for example, being home this weekend for that package. So what I'm going to do is over here, I have this personal admin bucket. So this is just sort of a bucket in which I collect all the actions that are not related to a specific project. We can just simply say period, personal admin bucket, and just like that, it's gone. And at the end of the day, we always want to empty this entire inbox, right? Because remember, we capture, clarify, organize, and then execute. So we capture the information, we clarify, we give it the proper action name, then we process it, we redirect it to the proper part of the system, which is the related project, and then later on, we execute on it. We do the same for our personal knowledge items. So for example, here we have some meeting notes that we want to process. Once again, we redirect it to the proper place. And then over here, we do the same with our external knowledge, where we are going to cover these knowledge databases more in depth in a later video, but this is what we do with our inboxes. We capture throughout the day, we process them at the end of the day. Then the next part of our shutdown routine is the action tracker review. And over here, we just check what was it that we set out to do at the beginning of the day and what is it that we actually did. So as the day was progressing, right, we're just living in our execution zone because that's where we live during the day. I was tapping off these action items because I finished 3 of them. Now, back into that daily review, over here you can see these are all the actions that I finished and these are the actions that I didn't finish. So now we can see, okay, I did 3 of the things. I did my big win, so that is already good enough. I can be happy with the work that I did, but I did not do this one. And then maybe we ask ourselves the question, why did I not do that particular action? And is there a certain action that keeps popping up as one that I'm not completing? Because then maybe there's something there. Maybe there's something I need to inspect and see, is this action not something I really want to do? Or is it something that I actually think I need to do, but that I just feel a lot of resistance towards? So this just helps us check in both with what we did as sort of a celebration, right? We did all these action items. Awesome. But also to see, hey, there's this 1 action item or 2 action items that we didn't do. What happened there? Should we change our planning? Or is there something particular with this action item, right? So that's why we have this daily action review over here. Now, the way we did this is we say, group them by done. You could also remove this one and simply sort them by done. And then you get the view that looks like this. I think both of them are fine, but for now we just have this one over here. And next we have the action calendar. And this one should seem familiar because we built this in the action tracker video. And this is that exact same view that we built last time, right? With all of the actions nicely laid out on this calendar. And now I can create the action item for tomorrow. Actually, be home this weekend, that's not for tomorrow, so I'm just gonna drag that to Saturday. And then this one is actually going to be the big win for tomorrow. This one is going to be the second priority. And that one is going to be the message. And now when tomorrow comes around and we create our daily review, this list of items is going to be right here in the today's action list, right? So let me just drag that to today for an example. It's going to be right over there. Right, so at the end of the day, we can easily create the action list for tomorrow. Then we are slowly coming to the end of the daily review. Now, once again, I would like to remind you, you don't have to do all of this. It's much more important that you have a routine that you can do consistently than having the perfect routine, right? Consistency is power. So just eliminate what you don't need and add what you do need. Okay, so over here we have the daily habit tracking. And once again, these are the same habits that we were tracking in the morning, but maybe now there's just some extra habits that we also want to track that happened during the day. So we can simply click the ones that we did. And then on the right over here, you see a linked version of our habits database. And this is where we have all of the habits with their context. So their frequency, their location, the time of day. This is something we're going to explore more in depth in the habit tracker video, but this is just a quick overview so that you can always remind yourself of the context of this particular habit, right? And then over here, we can actually track these habits. All right, then down here, the last part of this daily review is our shutdown reflections. So once again, we have our questions over here, right? What were today's wins? Something I feel proud of. What am I grateful for today? What could I have done better? These are all prompts that really help you to tune in with the moment, tune in with the day. Nourish your mind, nourish your soul, right? Having a bit of gratitude every day is one of the best ways to live a higher quality life. So just going into this question and briefly write down that I am grateful for all the people watching this right now, right? I am grateful for you. You are awesome, and I'm very happy that you exist. Just saying that already makes me feel better, right? So that is the power of some journaling. You can change these questions. You can remove this. We'll show how to change these questions in a later video. But for now, we have our shutdown questions right over here. Then similarly, we have the shutdown statistics. And of course, if we want to check in with our affirmations again, we also have those right over here. So quick recap. We have our daily review living in our execution zone. And every day we can press this new button and we open up this template. And then in this template, we have our startup routine with all these different views of the different databases. If you purchase the Notion of Life system and any of these views is unclear, you can just always look at the tutorial videos by going in the toggle right over there. Then we have this shutdown routine, which we do at the end of the day. We capture all of this information, and then at the end of the day, we empty those inboxes, we process it, we redirect it to the proper place. Then we have this action tracker review to just check in with, did the things we want to do today actually get done? If yes, then awesome, and if not, why not? Then we have the action calendar, which we can use for planning. We have our habit tracking at the end of the day, and then we have our shutdown reflections. I know I said it multiple times, but it's so important that I'm going to say it once more. You can tweak and adjust the daily review to fit your personal needs. Principle 5, design for modularity. This system is designed for modularity so that you can change and tweak things. So don't be afraid. You don't have to do everything. It's better if you can do a simple thing consistently than do the perfect thing only once. Now, let me know in the comments down below what your perfect daily review looks like, or send me an email at meaningcrafter@gmail.com. Quick recap of what we discussed in this video. The daily review is a process that helps us structure our day-to-day lives so that we can use our time and energy more wisely. It is sharpening the metaphorical axe so that we can chop more wood with less effort, because that is what we're here for. More result, less effort. In the beginning of the day, we have the startup routine, in which we take a few minutes to start the day with intent and clarity. And then at the end of the day, we take a few minutes with the shutdown routine to make sure that all of our inboxes are empty and that we end the day with a clear head. If you want to build a Notion of Life based on all of these videos, then all power to you. If you'd rather just use the system straight away, then I have good news because enrollment for A Notion of Life is currently open and you can get a 20% early bird discount by going to the description down below. So check that out if you want to use that. And I never want money to be the reason people cannot access my product. So if for some reason this product is too expensive for you right now, send me an email and we can arrange something. As mentioned at the beginning of this video, all the links, assets, and products used in this video can be found in the description down below. In the next video, we are going to explore the capturing and the processing of external knowledge. If you want to use the entire Notion of Life system, I've created a playlist and I can highly recommend starting at video number 1. And for now, I just want to thank you for watching and chop, chop, chop. Let's get to action.